Well, folks, I've done it. I've completed the Technics stereo setup. I have every matched component up here except for the turntable, but I don't really count the turntable because it's rather cheap. But I hear that they sound pretty good, so I might get a new stylus for it eventually and see how it sounds. But unfortunately, I won't be putting it up here because the Technics turntable I have doesn't have a dust cover, and that just won't do. So I'm using this Sony one instead, which is a Sony PS-LX250H, which is a rather cheap and genericized turntable that they sell today. It has a good cartridge on it. It has an Audio-Technica AT3600, which is quite a good cartridge, and I plan to get that cartridge for my other good turntable once I get that fixed. It has a grounding problem at the moment, so that's why it's not up here. I'm just procrastinating fixing it. But yeah, apart from the turntable, this Technics stereo system is complete. And I'm very happy about that. See, up here this is all a matched set. We have the tuner, the STS-96, the amplifier, the SUV-96, the cassette deck, which is RST-17. I actually took a look inside this cassette deck, and it's quality. It's really good quality, and replacing the belts when they have to be replaced is going to be not too daunting of a task compared to some other tape recorders and decks and stuff that I've seen. CD player, which is SL-P117, and the one piece of equipment that you guys haven't seen yet, and that's the graphic equalizer. This is an SH8046. Now, I like this graphic equalizer a lot. What I've done is the amplifier itself has a main-in and pre-out inputs and outputs on the back, which are normally jumpered because there's no preamp, or because normally you would use those to either connect an equalizer or to connect this receiver to an outboard preamp that would drive, a much bigger set of speakers. For example, let's say you're doing a huge DJ gig or something. That's what you would do. You would use this for all your sources and use the Pro Audio gear for all your for driving the really big speakers and stuff. What I've done is I've put the equalizer in the main in pre-out inputs and outputs so that it just equalizes everything. It doesn't equalize just one source like they lead you to believe with the Tape 2/EQ tape monitor here, but instead I just hooked it up the way it's supposed to be, so it just does everything, which is nice. So I can just have an equalization along, all my sources, just uniform. Interesting thing about this equalizer is the way you select what's on each band. Let me turn on the tuner here. I have to turn on the tuner to turn on the equalizer. And yes, that's a vacuum fluorescent display there. What you can do, what it has is ways to select where you want it to be on the bands with little membrane buttons here. So that's pretty nice. Everything here is membrane buttons. You can select left or right channels, or both. With these buttons here, you can look at the EQ level, which, let me show you how this works. Basically, you show where on the band you want to be by just hitting the buttons here. I'm going to put it back in the middle. You can have a spectrum analyzer, which does the classic graphic equalizer animation when you're playing music. And the more you turn it up on the amplifier, the more it shows up on here. You can lock the EQ. You can reverse it. Not quite sure what the reverse button does. I haven't played around with it yet. And it has preset memory, so you can have 4 different equalization curves as presets, which I really like. So if you have speakers that aren't quite, the way you want them to sound, you can mess with the equalization and make them sound good. You can turn the EQ on and off with this button here, so it turns on and off there. EQ record, I think that's just if you put it on tape, you can record it or something. I don't know what that does, actually. I don't have the manuals for any of this stuff, so I couldn't really tell you. That's the one piece that I didn't show you yet, so I just figured I'd show you that quickly. And everything seems to be working rather well, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I'll just turn it on to prove it all works. Tom Petty, man. Technics SBL75 speakers. put that on CD aux for a while, and yeah, everything works great. I'm very happy with this. This is the one thing I love about the 80s. You can get just stacks of equipment, stack it on top of itself, and just be like, hey, I got everything right here. I've seen other YouTube people I know do it. V Westlife has I think it's a Sanyo stereo. Yeah, it's a Sanyo stereo stack in a little stereo rack that he has. UXW Bill has his JC Penney stereo, which is quite a nice looking stereo, I must say. And I have my big old Technics set here, so there you have it. Oh, one other thing, I have the computer hooked up to this as well. On the CD/aux, A is for the computer and B is for the CD player, so I can select between those two. And one thing, hooking up a stereo like this is it's pretty hard to make it nice looking back there, so I just leave it alone. So I just thought I'd show you guys my completed stereo setup. I think it's looking pretty good. Let me know what you guys think of it. There you go. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.